Well, I can't do X, but the people have been paying.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting outside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting with the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good early morning. You are taking a live look right now at Space Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where SpaceX is hoping to make history 2 days in a row. Of course, we had the successful flight of Starship Block 2 finally, and now set to make history because this is not your ordinary Starlink. It is indeed a record breaker. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host for this evening's broadcast. Joining me on studio comms from the other side of the globe is Alex. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. I mean, it is a record-breaking Falcon launch today. Boy, am I excited. After Starship, the adrenaline is still ongoing, and it's, while the big rocket is sort of new still, we've got here a very old one about to launch.
Yeah, old is a bit of an understatement. We'll go into the amazing history that is B1067-30. Hopefully tonight to become the first ever booster to have a -31 on his 30th flight. And joining us from the field tonight is Jerry Pike. Jerry, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's a great night to be out here at the Kennedy Space Center, and hopefully we see some history tonight.
Yes, indeed. And as we were kind of insinuating there, this booster will be the first booster in SpaceX's fleet to fly for a 30th time, if all goes well, 56 minutes and 27 seconds from now. Oh yeah, it's also carrying 28 Starlink satellites on mission 10-11, but it's the booster's the cool part. All right, I guess we should go through the basic rundown of the mission, though. Alex, you got this?
I got it. So for those that don't know, this booster has flown 29 times before, right? So shall we list the entire list of missions? I'll go through them. The first mission was CRS-22. It then launched Crew 3, Turksat 5B, Crew 4, CRS-25, Starlink Group 434, Hotbird 13G, O3B mPOWER A, Starlink 5.2, Starlink 5.5, Starlink 5.9, Satria, Starlink 6.10, Starlink 6.22, Starlink 6.29, Starlink 6.35, Mera Putih 2, Starlink 6.45, Starlink 6.55, Starlink 8.5, Starlink 8.3, Galileo L13, Koreasat 6A, that was the last customer mission that it launched, by the way, and then it's all more Starlink missions, Starlink 670, Starlink 1212, Starlink 128, Starlink 673, Starlink 683, and Starlink 1025. That was his last mission 57 days ago. And today it's going to be its 30th flight with the Starlink Group 10-11 mission. Boy, that's a long list of missions, but I'm so thankful that, we get to witness this. Many more missions probably down the line.
And I think it was the NSF members Discord that asked you to name all of them as opposed to just the and 18 Starlinks, right?
Yep.
By that we mean the members Discord. So Capcom and above, if you want Alex to name all the missions again, apparently you just ping him in the Discord. Sorry for your notifications that are about to now go crazy.
Probably.
Anyway, so Jerry, for people that want to watch this historic mission, what trajectory are we looking for tonight?
Well, with all of these recent Starlinks that we've been seeing over the past month or so, this one is going to be a northeast trajectory. So upwards and along the eastern seaboard of the United States. It will be heading up in the early-ish morning hours, depending on where you are along the coast.
And hopefully a good show. If you have clear skies, it never hurts to go outside and take a look. Also, I see people asking, why am I supposed to thank the producer? What was it on the stream the other day that Das was saying? Why would you thank the producer before the stream actually is completed and if they did a good job or not? So there's no way that I would mention that Carson Phillips is producing tonight. I can't mention Carson, no. But I can mention if you have questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight. We will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. Well, the first question from Cree is, Alex, how are we all doing after Tuesday?
I'm still recovering. I still have my body in action mode. I've been struggling to sleep with all the adrenaline rushing through my body still. But you know, it drives me to do more stuff, to work more, and get things done. I've been using a little bit of to essentially to today's work on spreadsheets and some scripts as well, especially preparing tomorrow's episode of This Week in Spaceflight, which will include, of course, Starship, but it will also include this launch. I hope it will.
Oh, it will, because it's worth noting that the mission was originally scheduled to launch a couple of hours ago. The window for this particular mission opened at 1:27 a.m. and does remain open until 5:27 a.m. Eastern Time. But as of right now, they are targeting 4:12, which is the clock that you see ticking in the top left of the screen. Now, Jerry, we were talking about this beforehand. Obviously, there's the record for the number of times this booster has flown, but there's some other cool stats about its recovery, right?
Well, yeah. So for this particular booster, as Alex mentioned earlier, its first mission here was CRS-22, which was on June 6th of 2021. And that one landed on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which, if you're familiar with where SpaceX's fleet is located recently, it's not on the East Coast. And it's for good reason, is that was, Of Course I Still Love You's very last landing on the East Coast before it was moved over to the West Coast to support Vandenberg landings. So it's an interesting tidbit that its first flight was, Of Course I Still Love You's last landing.
Last East Coast landing. It's a shame. I still my favorite booster name, and people hate it when I call it O'Sisley. Come on, it's OCISLY, O'Sisley. Just
Could
like
be
tonight, it's landing
Orkesley?
on. Like tonight, it's landing on ASOG.
ASOG, yeah.
Yes,
But-
and since this booster has landed on, Of Course I Still Love You, it's also has the unique honor of being the only Falcon 9 in SpaceX's active fleet that's landed on every single drone ship that they currently have in operation.
That is cool. And
Yeah.
speaking of cool, talk about going way back here. Is this from the first return?
That is CRS-22, right?
Oh, they grow up so fast. You know, they're such
So
they have a baby
clean.
face, and then it looks like they need to shave, aka getting all the soot.
Oh,
Also, Severin, yes, I do call it dirty. I absolutely call just read the instructions dirty.
another thing to point out as well is that so this was the last mission that Of Course I Still Love You supported on the East Coast, right? That was CRS-22. CRS-23, the next Cargo Dragon mission, was the first landing on a shortfall of gravitas at all. Like, it was the first mission that a shortfall of gravitas supported on the East Coast, and today's mission will be landing on a shortfall of gravitas. B-1067 was the second booster to land on a shortfall of gravitas, because after CRS-23 came Crew 3, and Crew 3 was the second landing on a short of gravitas. It was also the second mission for this booster. So it both was the last East Coast landing on, of course, I Still Love You, and also the second landing on a short of gravitas. Today, if it lands, it'll be the 122nd landing on that drone ship. 120 landings since then.
Did they just have a ladder hanging underneath the legs after that return?
Yeah, probably for access to the engine section and things like that. Speeds up the turnarounds and everything.
Yeah. And another thing that we've seen them put up against this booster, hopefully we'll get a better view from it as we see onboard cameras and things like that. But apparently, with this being the fleet leader, they decided to literally crown it the fleet leader. Jerry, they put a crown on it.
They did on the four number indicators on at least on the top half of the booster. They made a note to clean the soot off extra well around those small little numerical markings with the 6-7 indicating its number. But on top of that number, they have a small crown that's visible, very, very tiny on the top of those numbers there. So that'll be something that we definitely will need to see when it comes back in.
Yeah, I think there's more excitement about it returning to port after its 30th flight than there is for it actually launching here at NSF.
Oh, definitely. I think that's definitely what I'm excited for here.
Hopefully, we'll get some awesome drone footage from you, and then Julia with her booster selfies. So definitely a good reason to follow the NSF socials if you don't already, so you can see all of those amazing videos and pictures as the boosters return. Let's see. Here's another good point about history here. Less than ideal, saying only 10 more flights, if you include this one, before the shuttle reuse record of 39 is broken. Poor Discovery. When roughly do you think that will happen, and by which booster? Alex, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, I'm gonna guess that probably not be 1067, although they keep pushing it, and so you never know, right? But I've always thought that perhaps the first one to reach 40 will be a much later booster in the fleet, mainly because this one is the first one, right? And as we've seen, the first one that's reached 30 and things like that, usually when they reach one of these round numbers, they sort of stand down and then they do like a big recycle, like they do really in-depth inspections of the booster and things like that. They try to learn from it and then apply those lessons to the other boosters. There's another booster that's coming up really close to this one, which is B1063 from the West Coast. It's flown already 27 times. There is another one also as well from the West Coast, B1071. So there's at least two other boosters coming in behind, very, very close to this one, right? They are just like 2 or 3 launches away from 30 as well. So I think there's a good chance that the 40 goes to another booster later in the fleet, and then this eventually either gets lost because it's, the more you fly, the more chances there are that, you might lose a booster, right? But also at the same time, being old, it probably might be expended on some expendable mission or something like that. We'll see. I will venture to say that probably it's going to be one in the 70s when they do that.
Question from me: does this booster have the leveling improvements that we saw after certain boosters started tipping over?
No idea. I don't know, to be honest. It's one of those things that it seems like it may have started on the 70s for the booster numbers, right? It's clear that at least B1058 didn't have it, because that was one of the reasons that was given as to why it eventually took over on the barge, right, when it was coming back. So I have no idea. Maybe, but we just don't have any hard information about that. I will also mention, before we said it is, because I just mentioned B1058, talking about how this is the only active booster so far that has landed on all 3 drone ships. That is true, because it is the only active booster to have done that. Unfortunately, we lost a few boosters down the line that had already done that before, but unfortunately they either got lost or expended. But yeah, I just, talking about B-1058, that was one of those that also landed on all 3 drum ships.
07's in chat for 1058 as we remember thee fondly. But yeah, that was just my thought, because with it being such an older booster, like you said, I think they started implementing that in the 70s, and yet this is one of the older ones that's already made 30. So I could imagine it being one of the, like you said, a slightly newer booster that has all of these added tweaks and fixes that the 50s and 60s didn't have as we get to the 70s and 80s. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be 1070 something that's going to take the record. If not, it would be one of the early 1080s. Which, what number
Yeah.
are we up to now? What was the newest one that flew?
B-1096, I think it is. Yeah.
And then, of course,
me-
the 1091 Falcon Heavy single stick, as Ryan likes to call it.
Well, I also argue that they also flew a single stick Falcon Heavy, because they also launched B-1092. And that one has even more flights. It launched recently with the X-37B a few days ago.
And that was supposed to be a side core, right?
Yeah, it's a side booster. It doesn't have the Falcon 9 logo and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as for when I think it's going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if it's by the end of next year. Given the flight rate that they've been at, the cadence they've been going, how many launches they still plan on doing, I would not be surprised if before the end of next year we see Discovery's record beaten, which it hurts. As a shuttle fan, it hurts. I mean, it's a good thing, but it hurts. Really quickly, let me thank some people here. Ken Sheeps becoming a Pad Rat member, and Michael CD also becoming a Pad Rat member. Thank you very much for the support. Ethan also asking here, do you think we'll see a crew Falcon 9 and a Starship at 39A at the same time within 2 years? Ooh. I don't know if we'd
There's a
see
good
them at the
chance.
same time, though. Wouldn't one launch from 37 if they're doing crew operations?
Well, I wouldn't expect them to be doing anything dangerous with the Starship and the crew, next door, right? Because, I mean, that's essentially something that you wouldn't expect them to do. Although it's SpaceX, you never know, right?
Right.
But yeah, having both rockets out there on the pad, yeah, I fully expect that. Maybe with a Falcon 9, either. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually a Crew Dragon Falcon 9 first before a fairing Falcon 9, just like we're seeing here at LC-39A. Because it will be ironic, and it's one of those things that because it's ironic, it will probably happen rather than the fairing one. But yeah, I don't see why not. Of course, I wouldn't see them doing again anything dangerous Starship wise, as there's a crew capsule and everything out there at 39A. But you launch the crew and then you launch the Starship or whatever, or test it. I don't know, something.
But do you think they'd have a non-fueled Starship out at pad 39AX, whatever they decide to call it, at the same time as a Crew Dragon on 39A proper?
Yeah. I
Wow.
think it's going to happen. And a Falcon Heavy. Yeah. It's very
Oh.
likely.
I would love to see Falcon Heavy and Starship at 39A simultaneously.
I'll give you
That-
another one. How about a Starship on 39A and an SLS on 39B?
Oh,
That's going to be
now
cool.
we're talking.
It's definitely going to happen on Artemis 3. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, it has to. But yeah, I got to see a launch over at Playa Linda Beach while SLS was out on the pad. So I do have shots of a Falcon 9 flying by Artemis. I'm sure plenty of people have that shot because it was out for so long. But that was such a cool sight to see, how tiny Falcon looked in comparison.
Yeah, I'm sad that I never got to see that. But I did see the mobile launcher from SLS out there when I was in Playa Linda, and it was such a huge thing. Like, I know it was miles and miles away. It just felt like it was right on my nose because of how huge it was. And yeah, and compared to the fixed service structure on on the pad, and also to the Starship Tower as well. The Starship Tower was also huge, and yeah, it's really amazing. I recommend anybody that can go to Playa Linda Beach and like look at all that kind of hardware, because it's probably the closest that you can get being the public, of course.
Yeah, and of course for night launches, because it is a public beach, it is closed for a launch like tonight, especially as we now hit 39 minutes to go until launch, and we get into the actual timeline of events about to begin. So, of course, we have hopefully the go for propellant load that will be coming up in just a couple minutes from now, yep. And then if they verify go for prop load at T minus 38 minutes, we will see them start loading stage 1, both the RP1, the rocket propellant 1, specifically super refined form of kerosene, trying to vary it up because I've said it so many times, and the liquid oxygen into stage 1. We should have a much easier time seeing the frost this time, given how much soot there is to make contrast on the booster. Meanwhile, the second stage will begin loading the RP1, which is warmer than the liquid oxygen, so they load that first. Then they have to chill down the LOX line. That is at the T minus 20 minute, 20-second mark, aka the best vent. And then a few minutes after that, they will start the stage 2 LOX load. So hopefully we are getting into the thick of it here with the propellant load and the countdown. And then, of course, only, 7 or 8 minutes afterwards, this thing is going to be coming back. Here's a good question. 98 Central is asking, when Starship deploys the V3 Starlinks, will they be in a higher orbital shell due to their larger size?
Well, the V3 Starlinks, they just are in different shells in general, but well, you will hang on. Let me rewind here my answer. So you would think, because this is what I was trying to mention, you would think that they will be in a different shell, but it's actually part of the same constellation. So if you remember, when they started launching these V2 minis and everything, the whole reason why they're called V2 minis is because they are the miniaturization or the miniaturized, the small version of the V2 satellites. The V2 satellites were the original sort of Starship Starlink satellites, essentially the Starship size Starlink satellites. And so what that means is that those V3 satellites will just go to the same shells as all of these satellites that we're seeing launched right now. That is things like 53-degree inclination, 43-degree inclination. There is another inclination that they can access, but they have never launched to, and that is 33-degree inclination. Now, I'll give you a guess as to whether you can get to 33 or not from Starbase, and I'll tell you the answer: you can. So you can actually access the 33-degree shell from Starbase, which is my guess as to where they're going to be launching those Starlink satellites once they start launching them from Starbase. And once they start launching from Florida, all of those Starlink missions will probably also go to 53 degrees, like we see today with this mission, and probably 43 degrees also as well, which we've seen, for example, with Group 6 missions. So yeah, it's probably going to be pretty much like that. They have never launched into a 33-degree orbit, even though they are approved to do that. And so yeah, my bet is that they're going to be launching those on Starship.
Yeah, but it's not something like Falcon 9 where it would have to go higher up and then would have a steeper return trajectory. I mean, could you imagine how hot the booster could get if it was a Falcon 9? I mean, Alex, what is the hottest re-entry that we've seen for Falcon 9?
Yeah, so we've seen on this booster a few 8 launches ago, it did the Galileo mission. It was the penultimate customer mission, or sort of like, it did a customer mission after this, and then everything else has been Starlink since. Let's put it that way. And this was the hottest re-entry for any booster. I mean, if you don't count Falcon Heavy, I guess. For any Falcon 9 booster, this was the hottest re-entry, the hottest attempt to land this booster on a drone ship as well. And the whole reason was because they needed to launch two Galileo satellites into medium Earth orbit, and they needed to push the rocket. On the first So they launched 2 Galileo missions, each one with a pair of Galileo satellites for Europe. And the first mission was fully expendable. So they expended the booster because they needed all the performance. But they found out they didn't need to expend the booster actually, and they could just push a little bit more the booster and try and land it on a drone ship downrange. And that's what they did on the second mission, which was this one. And this is the landing of B-1067 on its, I think it's 22nd flight, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this was last year on September, and it did it. Like, this booster that is flying for a 30th time, it is also the one that's gone through the hottest re-entry of a Falcon 9 booster. So yeah, it's really amazing.
And to think, that was 11 months ago, and it's already been, what, 8 flights in that time?
Yep, it's being 8 flights, or at least this will be the 8th, because, 22nd plus 8, 30, of course. But yeah, this will be the 8th launch since then, and it's still getting more flights. They're recovering it today, because it's landing on a chauffeur of gravitas, so I would expect them to at least fly it another time after this. We'll see when, maybe a few months down the line, but definitely seems like they might be using it again. Otherwise, they would not recover it.
Yeah, well, let's hope they recover it. And as we hit the 33-minute mark, we're going to be keeping a close eye on the booster, as hopefully we will start to see that frost form on the vehicle, indicating that prop load is underway. So everyone keep your eyes peeled, and if you see the frost, go ahead and shout it out in chat, because we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled as well on this. And it should be a lot easier to see. We'll have to see also once it starts fueling how the weather is, because that's usually a good indication. Do we have you, Jerry, just to do a quick weather check? How is it out there at the Cape?
There's the frost.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, the weather is very calm. There's a couple low, kind of wispy clouds that you might see in a wider shot, but up to the north and northeast, I don't see anything. It's pretty perfectly clear except for a few little straggling, light clouds, but it's a great night, and I feel the mosquitoes because there's no wind.
Yay, I guess. There's no wind, but boo for the mosquitoes. And as you see there, the official forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron is 85% favorable. That 15 is POV, probability of violation. Upper level winds, booster recovery weather, and solar activity also remain low. That is what we like to see. But again, after Crew 11, I never take it for granted anymore. Dang you, Crew 11, the one cloud at 90% favorable. Anyway, we see frost. So far, right on time, it seems like on their timeline, and that means that they have committed to that T0. So basically, once they start the propellant load, they're either going or they're not. It's not like Starship where they can load it up and then hang for 15 to 30 minutes or whatever and wait. It's going to go now at 4:12 Eastern, or it's not.
Yep.
Here's one from Sausage Man saying, if the drone ship is called a shortfall of gravitas, shouldn't the nickname or acronym be ASFOG? Or do you say ASOG because it sounds better? Well, this comes down to the origin of the name. And yeah, they decided to go with the quote from a book. I believe it was from Look to Windward from the Culture series. And the sentence, or it was, the spacecraft was named Experiencing a Significant Gravitas Shortfall, one word. So they kept shortfall as one word on the actual drone ship itself, if you could even still read the paint on it. Right? I mean, these decks get blasted, Alex. They don't really repaint them as much anymore, do they?
Yeah, only when they go into maintenance, then they put a fresh coat of paint and then, call it a day. But nowadays, it's like every 6-7 months. And you think, well, that's not a lot. Remember, they launch very frequently, especially here from the East Coast. It's essentially like 10 times a month, right? So 6 or 7 months might be 60 to 70 launches and their landings, of course. And the majority of those landings are on drone ships nowadays, right? Because they are all pretty much Starlink missions. At least like 2/3 of all SpaceX missions this year have been Starlinks. So yeah, let's say maybe like 4 or 5 landings per drone ship on the East Coast per month, right? So that's at least 35 landings or so every single time they do inspections and whatnot. That's a lot of landings.
Oh yeah, and you've seen from some of our KSC flyovers the photos where the booster will be in port and you literally cannot read what the name is. You can see the Marmac number on the back, and that's usually how we know, or whatever booster it just brought back in. But otherwise, yeah, the name is kind of wiped off. But there are definitely older photos showing that they decided to make shortfall one word. And I mean, Alex, your back channel joke I think needs to be said aloud.
Yeah, I was about to because I couldn't contain it. I said that ASFOG it will be if it goes to Vandy.
Oh, the Vanden fog strikes again, so as fog would strike there too. Also, that I don't know, it just sounds weird saying as fog, as clear as the seas, as fog as the recovery ship. Also, let's see how many times I end up accidentally saying catch tonight after all the talk we've been doing with Starship if it catches the booster versus landing it.
But they didn't catch it. They expanded B-16.
Yeah, but with all the catch tower talk and chopsticks, and now they're actually being chopsticks for the chopsticks, I don't know. I will probably slip tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. Here's one from Mr. Fluffy. Jerry, you're okay. You're on the least coast. Oh, come on. It's the best coast. And it'll be within 90 minutes or so of dawn. Any chance of a morning jellyfish that close?
So looking at my watch right now, I have for my location, sunrise is at 6:58 local time here, and the T0 for local time here is, what's the difference between that? 4:12 is the targeted T0 right now. Well, they are going for it. So I think unfortunately it's a little early for a local jellyfish here at the East Coast, but up the East Coast of the United States and over into, getting towards Europe, you may be able to see something as the sun will be a little bit, closer to that. But unlikely here, close to the Space Coast.
Yeah, it's a shame we haven't had a good jellyfish in a while there at least, but I'm excited to see more. I mean, we got Falcon nebulas at least with the recent boost back burn that we saw the other night with CRS. What was that, 33 now? It all blurs together after Starship. So, and that's another good point also worth bringing up. You were talking about how much work the drone ships are getting. SpaceX right now still is down to a single landing zone now, with LZ-1 going to its new owner and LZ-2 remaining in commission. So, Alex, when do you think we'll actually see them, or sorry, USSF 36. So, Alex, when do you think we'll see them decommission LZ-2 and switch over to their new plan?
I think it's going to be a few months. We got the draft environmental impact statement, at least for Slick 40. I think it was a few months ago. I think it was in May, might have been. So there's probably been already some of the public meetings and whatnot talking about it and collecting comments from the public and whatnot. So I would expect that process to probably finish in the next couple of months. And then it's just a matter of clearing the area and building a circle on the ground. That's at least for Slick 40. I don't know about LC39A. I don't think there's been any documentation other than some ground planning and things like that. There's been a few things that we've seen, and I think we featured it also on one of the KSC flyovers. We just, we have not seen like a proper environmental impact statement or anything like that from NASA or the FAA or anything like that. So we'll see if we get to that. Of course, I also expect that to probably happen in the next few months as well. People are probably worried about Falcon Heavy double returns and things like that. As far as we know, we recently got to know that at least from military missions, the next Falcon Heavy for the military won't be until 2027. So you only have commercial missions in the list for Falcon Heavy future missions. And the next one might be the Griffin lander mission. the last update we got was like really late last year, and that it was still late this year. I'm gonna say that's probably unlikely because of how new this lander is and everything. So I would expect that Falcon Heavy mission to delay into 2026. I would say we're probably a good 6 to 8 months until the next Falcon Heavy mission.
Oh, I hate being in a Falcon Heavy dry spell. It's such a beautiful rocket to see the two coming down simultaneously. Oh, I miss it. Anyway, I'm not bitter, you're bitter. Let's see here. Apocalypse Cow, Danger Moo gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Mr. Fluffy coming in with a super chat saying, maths are hard north of the Wyoming coast at 2 a.m. Sorry, Jerry. Not sorry, Sawyer. I'm sorry, what? East Coast, Best Coast. Wyoming second. Gulf Coast third. And West Coast last. Plain and simple. That has to be the order. I hear no arguments, so there we go. Let's continue then before someone starts arguing.
I think we're all on the East Coast, Best Coast side here, so I'm not going to argue.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry, for backing me up here. I love it. Here's one from ResistoJet. Again, another 28 satellites going up here. How far is SpaceX in getting the Starlink system complete? I guess my add-on is, will it ever be fully complete, Alex?
Oof, yeah, it's nowhere near. So let's see, bit of a short rundown. They had the original Starlink constellation, right, where they launched the V1.0s and V1.5s. Part of these missions are also part of renovating that original constellation. So you might see them launching these missions and you might think, well, they are really far ahead, right? Because they've launched so many of these. Bunch of these are also replacing the old ones. For example, recently from Vandenberg, they've been launching Starlink satellites to sun-synchronous orbit. That is one of the shells on the original constellation. And so those satellites are definitely replacing the old V1.5 satellites that they launched to that shell that is like 97 degrees. And that's a very nice shell because it covers also higher latitudes like Alaska and things like that. Canada as well. It's very higher up in the inclination range, right? So it covers polar regions in Antarctica and all that. So there are fewer of those satellites, but they also need to launch those and replenish those. So they're doing that from Vandenberg. From here, from the East Coast, since there's an overlap, that's the problem, right? That the second generation constellation also has shells on the 53-degree inclination, right? And so that means there's an overlap between the two constellations and everything, and the orbits and the shells and all that. So we cannot distinguish when they are doing a replenishment of the old satellites or whether it is just launching more for the second constellation. All I can tell you is that they are nowhere near, because between the two constellations, it's nearly 30, it's like more than 34,000 satellites, and they've only launched like 9,000. So there's still many more satellites to launch. And of course, once Starship comes up, that's V3 satellites. I will bet the same. Probably a bunch of missions will just be replacing the existing V1.0, V1.5, and V2 mini satellites, because the V3 will be even more capable and larger and provide more better service than the current satellites and all the other all satellites. So just gonna say, that's your warning.
Yeah, oh no, it means we're going to have to cover more Starlink launches. What a shame. You'll just have to keep tuning into NSF to watch with us as we all slowly lose our minds from exhaustion after Starship launches, too. But one thing that we can all lose our minds to together is we all shout best vent as the T-minus 20-minute, 30-second vent at 39A, 20-minute, 20-second vent at 40 occurs on screen. Jerry, why are we seeing all this coming out of the transporter rector there?
So I'm going to be honest here, and that's a little bit less up my alley than it is for Alex, but as far as I already know, that this is purging the lines on the transporter erector as they proceed with fueling to keep everything running smoothly during the count here.
See, you got it. I knew you could do it. And they just chill it down, purge it out, and get it ready for the liquid oxygen to load next.
Just like we see with Starship. Anybody watch our stream for Starship Flight 10? I'm sure you all watch it, But anyways, if you watched it, you probably heard me say, "Oh, there's this vent and then this other vent, like the tower vent and the OLM vent and all that." Those two vents were the same thing as this vent on the Stromback. They prepare both the tower and the launch mount for liquid oxygen load on Starship on the first and second stages. This one, on the transporter reactor of Falcon 9, it is for the second stage of Falcon 9, also to load that liquid oxygen. They chill down the lines, they vent out that oxygen, it creates this beautiful condensation of the humidity on the air and everything, because it's cold. It's rather cold, right? And so, yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, cold propellants, warm Florida, makes a pretty show. Do we see a vent, though, on Starship for the methane, or is it still also just the liquid oxygen? Because obviously we don't see a big vent for when they do the RP1 load, which is warmer.
Yeah, the RP1 load is as you said, it's warmer, so it doesn't need to be conditioned and things like that. They still do what, at least for example, for the engine, they do what it's called priming, which is filling the pumps so that there's no empty holes or anything like that on those pumps. But they don't really they don't really do things like, you know, conditioning or anything, because it's not needed. It's not cold. For Starship, they do the same on the methane. They also load the pumps and everything. They also chill down the lines. But instead of having vents, since it's very flammable and also a high pollutant and things like that, what you do is you just continue the same line. You just keep it going and then return it back to the tank farm. And that's what they do on Starship. And also, you may see it also on other rockets, such as New Glenn, Vulcan, and things like that. Their returns, however, instead of going back to the tank farm, they go to a flare stack. So they burn it off on a flare stack. McGregor, you can also see a flare stack going on there, or for methane. So yeah, it's one of those things that it's normal to just try to not vent out things like hydrogen or methane, right? Because especially because it's highly flammable, but also, you know, the pollution and whatnot, it's rather important as well.
So if it were methane, it'd be igniting in the flare stack.
Correct.
Ship 36 just blew up. Okay, good. But yeah, and also I should point out, when we say that the RP1 is warmer, it's still chilled. It's still not like room temperature. People like ULA, for theirs, they load it weeks in advance, and it just kind of hangs out with the RP1 in it. But SpaceX does chill it down a little bit to get the best efficiency out of it, right?
Yeah, it's just obviously not a cryogenic, so they don't need to you know, once they load that, it's not like the metals will suddenly just, you know, because that sudden temperature change can mess with the metals on the pipes, on the rocket itself, and things like that. When it is a cryogenic fluid, but it's just, if it's just a little bit chilled, well, in the case of the RP1, it's like -7 degrees Celsius. I cannot remember now in Fahrenheit. I think it is 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not really that cold. It's cold for us humans, but not cold as liquid oxygen.
Yeah, I still wouldn't touch it or drink it or lick the booster, but yes. And as you can see there, that vent going away, meaning that the LOX load on stage 2 is underway. Meanwhile, RP1 and LOX load continue on stage 1. Just like work on the OLM continues, propellant load on stage 1 continues. Holy cow, Alex Perdue with a $50 super chat. Thank you. Way to wake me up here. Comes with the question, what's the holdup with New Glenn? Have you guys been to the restaurants across the port and see the booster roll in? The drones look black. I wonder if they were bought secondhand versus Jacqueline being brand new. I'll start with you, Alex, of what's the holdup with New Glenn, and then I may go to Jerry since he's gotten some video of LPV-1 returning.
Yeah, so New Glenn right now is just slowly getting ready for flight. They had the test of both the aft section and the forward section of the booster for the second flight of New Glenn a few short weeks ago at the pad, and they were testing sort of the grid fins, the RCS thrusters and everything. They tested the landing legs as well on the aft module, and now they're putting all of that together, right? The big problem is that since they lost the booster on the first flight, that's sort of the biggest holdup for the second flight, because they've been trying to redesign systems and whatnot. And here what we're watching is the second stage, but not for the second flight of New Glenn, but for the third. So since the second stage performed flawlessly, it went into orbit, it did what it needed to do with great precision, it was on target. That's quite unprecedented for the first flight of a rocket, to be fair. But they had a lot of experience, right, with New Shepard and everything, all of the launches and all that. So they could implement that with New Glenn and being able to do that. And so that firing was in preparation for the third flight. The second stage production is going, full steam ahead. And so that's one of the things that is not the holdup, essentially. But here we can see that aft module testing on the test stand at the launch site. And again, this is already being put together for the booster. Hopefully we see a launch in the next couple of months. We'll see. They're now just putting together that booster, so we'll see when it's actually flight ready. But that's the holdup right now. That's the biggest one. And I don't know about the drone ship. I'm guessing we're gonna get an amazing landing on this second flight.
Yeah, and Jerry, the question also about that drone ship. Can you talk a little bit about LPV-1?
Yeah, so I mean, the video that you're seeing right now was actually from today or yesterday, or depending on where in the world you are. And it's yesterday for me, but barely. I haven't slept yet. But it's they were actually out today doing some more testing. You can see there they have the landing simulator that was placed on to the drone ship or landing platform or whatever you call it. But it's been in port. They've done a couple tests on it. Some with this landing platform on it and some without. And, they've gone in and out a couple times, but it's mostly just been idle here with the support ship Harvey Stone. They're kind of hanging out and waiting for the next launch. So it's definitely, I wouldn't say with the drone ship itself, it's more of a progress on the booster section of New Glenn that they're still working through some of their, I guess, improvements from Flight 1.
Also, amazing video next to the largest cruise ship in the world. If you're not following Jerry Pike for his drone footage and awesome stuff there, what are you doing? Go follow him. He's awesome, and you get great footage like that. And of course, the NSF socials do like to repost some of his stuff when we can, so check out the NSF socials as well as checking out Jerry's stuff. Freaking awesome. Now, 12 minutes to go until hopefully we see history made for a record booster. This, again, B-1067, set to become the first in SpaceX's fleet ever to reach 30 flights. Hopefully, 30 launches and 30 landings if all goes well. This one landing on the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. Not the one that you just saw, but ASOG will be located downrange to hopefully be awaiting its newest arrival of the oldest booster actively flying in terms of flight numbers. Oh man, it's hard to believe that it was such a baby, this booster. I'll have to pull up some old photos so we can reminisce on back in my day.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, I have to credit this one for, kind of getting me where I am today. This was the first time that I ever really flew a drone in this area, period, was watching 67-1 come in on, of course, I Still Love You in Port Canaveral back in 2021. And, it's kind of gone from there, but it's certainly an inspirational moment for me personally. This was, the first one that I saw like that, and it's something special here to see it 30 flights later.
Feels so weird, but it's so pretty. Let's see here. Snot Garden, Jack's favorite name. Thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships as we check out that original drone video there. Oh man. Look how clean the deck looked. You could read the names of everything, how less sooty it looked.
Also the square drone ship.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They chopped the edges off of this one.
Yep, it's now looking a lot more like ASOG.
Yes,
with the
and they
hexagonal, whatever.
Yep, hexagonal.
Yeah, hexagonal shape, so to speak. Yeah.
This was
You got
also
it.
like 4 different generations of drone back for me, so it's definitely not the quality that it is today, but it's certainly something to look back on and see where it started at.
Oh yeah, it is. It's again. The only word I can think of is just wild to see it now versus then. Let's see. Couple more things here in the queue. Noah Grubby saying, given the success of Flight 10, how would you guess before Flight 11 what might the flight plan look like? Already going to Starship questions as we hit under 10 minutes to go here on a Falcon 9 stream. But I don't know. We'll have to see, and I'm sure that's going to be coming up in a Starbase update and things like that. Chances to reminisce about the flight. And if you really want to reminisce about the flight, you can grab some of the photos from it at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. The team did an absolutely stunning job out there on this flight, which I know it seems quite obvious to say, but look at these. I mean, you've got D, you've got Jack, you've got Max. I'm sure forgetting Caesar. All these different amazing shots in there. There's the vapor cone. There's the liftoff shots. Oh, they're so cool. And if you don't want to get it to an actual metal print, we also have poster versions available. Look at all this Flight 10 goodness at shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
As they say, our team cooked.
Oh, they cooked indeed. And then here's a question from Nibbles asking, Alex, do they remove the FTS each booster landing?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what they do with the FTS. It's one of those things that we are not really aware of, because it is true that they bring those boosters on the drone ships most of the time, right? Most of the missions are drone ship returns. But it's not like we have lots of access. Like, we can see their activities at port through fleet cam and whatnot, but it's not really that detailed, the work that they do. They just simply fold the legs and things like that. And like, there's other things such as, doing some of the cleanup of the tanks and whatnot. They sometimes try to vent out some of the systems and things like that. We hear them usually, venting out the tanks and all that. But other than that, I have no idea what they do with the flight termination system charges.
Yeah, but we do know at T-minus 7 minutes that they start the engine chill down, which should be happening right about now as they condition those engines for the thermal shock that they will experience, hopefully, once it lifts off. And Jerry, you'll be doing the tracking tonight. Before we let you go to work on your cameras, final weather check from you. How's it looking?
Looking the same. There's, a couple clouds, something out in the distance. I've seen a couple bolts, way, way, way multiple tens of miles out, but looking good. Still great weather tonight.
Well, best of luck on the track, and we will talk with you afterwards. We now have under 6.5 minutes to go. Again, this is an historic launch. This is not your ordinary Starlink, hands down, as this is the first booster to hopefully fly for a 30th time, and most importantly, land for a 30th time, this being the Starlink 10-11 mission. And if you're wondering if you'll be able to see it outside, this one is the traditional northeast trajectory, so you will be able to, if you're along the northeastern coast, hopefully be able to see it. And if you do, head on outside and take some photos and videos. It's always really cool to see when people tag us in all of those. What was really cool is this is before and after of the booster here. So on your left is a photo that I took October 30th, 2021, I believe. Man, it doesn't feel like the booster is that old at 30 flights, but I mean, Alex, its first flight was when?
Well, it was on the CRS-22 mission. Hang on, I need to pull out the spreadsheet. It was June 3rd, 2021.
Man, and here we are, August 28th, 2025 for launch number 30. And yes, SpaceX Crew 3 was its second flight that you saw there. So that was with one flight under its belt. That was for Crew 3, which I believe, was that the first time that they had ever used a previously flown booster on a crew launch?
No, that was Crew 2.
Darn it. I was hoping for more history there.
Yeah. That was B-1061.
Well,
It was
still,
also
we
the
have
first. What?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it was also the first reuse of a Crew Dragon capsule with Endeavour on Crew 2.
The best, of course, with the name Endeavour like that. And now, 4.5 minutes to go. We should be coming up on the retract of the strongback here. So the arms will kind of unclamp around the fairings and it will lean back of just a couple of degrees. And then once it launches, it will throw all the way back. But I believe it's 1.8 degrees. It's been so long since we've had a Falcon launch, even though it isn't that long and everything has just been on Starship mode.
I mean, if you're in Starship mode, just wait 4 minutes to see the Starship hardware as soon as the Falcon lifts off.
True, although sometimes we do see it from SpaceX's cameras there as they're going through things here. But what can we expect in these final 4 minutes here?
Yeah, so as they continue that retraction of the stromback, they're going to be also doing the final load of liquid oxygen on the first stage and the second stage. That load on the first stage should wrap up in about 30 seconds from now. Usually it varies from one mission to the other, but roughly around the T-3 minute mark. About a minute later, T-2 minutes, that'll be also for the second stage. We'll have the return of that stromback vent. Shortly thereafter, it's just part of that venting, that clearing of the lines as they get ready for liftoff, as they call them, to start the pushbacks. We'll also see the stromback also venting a lot from other places as well as they do all of those gas closeouts, depressurizing some of the systems and whatnot and priming them for liftoff. So that's one of the things that we should be seeing soon. Of course, as well, there's internal stuff like going into internal power and transitioning the control from the ground computers to the onboard computers, which happens at T-1 hour, not 1 hour, T-1 minute, excuse me, on the Falcon 9, and they also bring up the tanks to flight pressure. Lots of things that happen also after T-1 minute. They do a lot of automated checkouts and things like that.
Also, I saw chat asking, and they do look previously used. Do we know how many times these fairing halves have flown, or is it just have flown before?
Yeah, so these fairing halves, scrolling. There we go. One of them flew for the 20th. It will be the 23rd flight for one of them, and the 22nd flight for the other one. They are serial numbers 200 and 203. So there you go.
When the fairing half
can actually
numbers
see
are
the
catching up to the
203.
booster numbers.
I was going to say, you can actually see the 203 on one of those.
Yeah. And one thing hopefully we'll also be able to see is the fact that there is a crown now located above the booster number as we see that final venting there. That means that prop load is now complete on board Falcon 9. It is fully fueled and ready to go. But yes, again, B-1067 set to be the fleet leader with the crown, flying for a 30th time. And that's the gas closeouts, so you'll see those final vents as they purge the lines of any remaining liquid oxygen inside them.
Yep.
As Alex pointed out, the next thing will be Falcon 9 entering startup and the tanks being pressurized to their flight levels. We should hear that call out in just a couple seconds.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. So at this point, again, pressurizing up to flight levels, it is now also on internal. The computers are on internal at this point, so the computers have the control of the count. And there is the go for launch from the launch director. I know I'm talking a lot. We will definitely stop talking once it launches. It takes a couple seconds for the sound to reach our field mics about 3 miles away, so you will hear it. It just may take a second. We're now about 20 seconds away from history here. Again, this Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. Falcon 9 getting ready to launch. Keep an eye out for a green flash at the bottom of the rocket for engine ignition. That comes up about T-3 seconds. There we go. We have ignition and liftoff. B-1067 makes history on its 30th flight, and it has cleared the tower. Those sounds absolutely spectacular as the vehicle gets ready to pass through Max-Q, maximum aerodynamic forces pushing down on the vehicle as it makes its way uphill for the 30th time with 28 Starlink satellites on board. So far now, minute 40 seconds into flight. Next up will be 3 events in rapid succession. That will be MECO, main engine cutoff, when those 9 Merlin 1D engines shut down, followed by separation of the first and second stages, and that will be followed by the ignition of the single Merlin vacuum engine known as SES-1, or Second Engine Start 1. In the meantime, we get to see the plume grow wider and wider here as it reaches the thinner part of the atmosphere. Now we get to the blue colors.
Look at that.
Never gets old. And stand by for MECO. There we go. There's main engine cutoff. Okay, next will be the stage separation. We'll see it from SpaceX cameras here on a short delay. And ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. That, of course, the main portion of the mission, the high priority, is getting the satellites into space, but now comes the fun part as well, as we see the booster and fairings get ready to return back. So next up will be the fairing separation, those two halves protecting those Starlink satellites all the way uphill. As it gets into the thinner parts and lack of atmosphere, they're no longer needed. So one pushes, one gets pushed, and away they go. Those will now have thrusters on board and a parachute to softly splash down and be recovered downrange to fly again. Alex, what is the support ship tonight for those?
That will be Doug. It's out there downrange, few kilometers downrange, past the booster drone ship, of course. But yeah, it's going to be out there recovering those fairing halves.
Yep, Jerry doing the tracking tonight, still tracking stage 2. Fantastic. Again, it helps once it got through those cloud layers. And at this point, that is all stage 2, which stage 2, for those who don't know, Alex, those are not reused. These are all brand new each flight, right?
Yeah, the stage 2 is always new. Sorry, I was distracted by a thing.
A thing?
Crown.
Yes, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast here of our live stream, they painted a crown on top of the booster identification number. So they don't actually say 1067 on them. They'll just have 67 located on 4 different spots around the booster to identify it. And they painted a crown on top of each one, given that this is now a crowning moment, and it is now the fleet queen, I guess, in this case, with the 30th flight. But at this point, everything looking good from the numbers here. And on the left side, you can see the booster has just passed apogee, which is the highest point in its trajectory. You know that because the speed goes up and the altitude now goes down. 110 kilometers, and yet in about 3 minutes, it'll be hopefully on the drone ship. It's crazy how they do that, Alex. How do they slow it down that fast?
Yeah, it's just very clever planning and combination of both that entry burn and also the atmospheric drag, right? It's flying through the atmosphere, using as much of that as possible to slow down. It goes from roughly 5,000 kilometers per hour to under 1,000 kilometers per hour at landing burn, right? Just using the atmosphere to be able to slow down. So it's a lot of speed that it bleeds off thanks to that.
Exactly, and part of that is that entry burn, which you can see getting ready for momentarily here. And that should be starting off with a singular engine, followed by 3 engines, before going back down to 1 engine and shutting down. So let's stand by for entry burn on the left side of your screen as the Merlin vacuum continues.
Looks like they're already chilling down those engines. That little light that you can see at the end of the booster, that's the engine chill reacting with the air as it's coming back.
And there's the singular engine. And 3 engines, you can see it pop there, as you get that rectangular shape from all three of those engines. As mentioned, it will then drop back down to one before shutting off. And this is where the soot gets even thicker on 1067.
It's gonna cover the crown now.
Oh, man, you're right. There we go. That is engine shutdown. Next up will be the landing burn, which is just one single center engine to help slow it down and hopefully land gracefully on the drone ship, which is a shortfall of gravitas located to the northeast of where it launched. Now 23 kilometers in altitude, already down to 4,000 kilometers per hour, which is still fast, but now you really see it bleed off that air. Sometimes you can see the plasma effects on the grid fins, which are those little kind of, I always call them like waffles, but it always makes me hungry, that will help steer as it gets into the thicker part of the atmosphere. Meanwhile, on the right side of the screen, everything continues to look good for the Starlink satellites on the second stage. And now comes the real test. We know it's the first booster to launch 30 times. Can it be the first to land 30 times successfully?
I think that was the drone ship light to the left.
Yeah, you tend to see it peeking out there in the grid fin. 4
There it
kilometers
is.
up. And here we go. There's landing burn. You'll see the grid fins help steer it towards the deck of the drone ship. Come on, baby. You can do it.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
We hear landing leg deploy. Now we see landing deploy, and history is made as B-1067 becomes the first to launch and land 30 times. Well done, Falcon 9. Well done, SpaceX.
That looked very much a bullseye.
I didn't want to say it because the last time Jack said it, yeah.
Yeah,
Those
I
of you
waited
who were there
until it
remember.
actually,
Oh, no. Yeah, that part.
There we go. Seco. And back engine shut down now.
And as we take a look at the replays, that is a successful mission. Let me just thank the people here. I need to thank Jake Lawson with the $20 super chat saying, "Hey, fam," right before launch. Well, hopefully you stuck around, fam. That was great. So thank you very much for the support. Jerry, how was it for you?
Oh, it was a great launch, and it's very humid and no wind, so it was a good rumble tonight. I got eat up as I was tracking, but it is what it is. The
You tracked
mosquitoes
it.
are out in force tonight.
You were able to track it. We got some great views from you. We got some great views of the launch, and it did it. So thank you for braving the mosquitoes out there as we watch through these replays. But yeah, this is from Fleet Cam. This is Rusty's at the port, a great place to catch a bite to eat and to watch a launch when they're open. You may remember that, we were talking about sitting at the restaurants by the port as the boosters come in. This is where you'd be able to see 1067 come back in a couple days. Oh, I just so cool. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out over it. I mean, it's 30 flights. How could you not be hyped after that?
Now let's get Starship to the same, right? They need a lot of more flights, but that's the goal. That's the goal in the future.
Yeah, I think Westy made me sad earlier in chat when they said that Starship has flown more times this year than Falcon Heavy.
Oh yeah. It's about to launch more times overall than Falcon Heavy because it's done the 10th flight. Falcon Heavy has done 11th flights. So, soon we'll probably have the 11th launch of Starship and also the 12th with Block 3 probably next year. So there's a good chance that Starship will have more launches than Falcon Heavy at one point.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah. And that point will be soon.
I do love the replays though. Again, these are from our location at the KSC press site. And you could see it was a humid night, but boy, did it put on a show. And the sound as a result was just absolutely spectacular. So let's listen into it again, because that was quite the rumble. Oh, absolutely nailed it on the sound there. And it's tough when you get those clouds that pop out and you got to still try and reacquire it. That was still a really good job. And keep in mind that that was Jerry's first track with this rig. I think he did a pretty darn good job.
It's really hard. I would not be at all. Like, I will probably lose the rocket 10 seconds in.
It's not easy. I have tracked 4 or 5, I think 5 of them. I feel like I've tracked more than that, but 5 that I can think of off the top of my head. It's never easy because it moves fast. It goes so much faster than you think it does, and then you have to follow it, especially as it gets smaller. You're leaning pretty far back with the tripod. You're trying to keep it in frame, and then you're super zoomed in, so the tiniest shake moves it out of the frame. Sometimes you lose it. You have to zoom out to zoom back in to find it again. It's not easy to do. The team just makes it look easy. And to take a look at those engines. Oh, great engine shot from Jerry as well. Jerry's killing it in the field today. Well done, sir. Absolutely beautiful. Again, you can check that out on all the socials. Definitely share all of the stuff from Jerry, which thank you very much, Jerry, for rolling out today. We appreciate it.
Of course, we couldn't not cover this, amazing launch tonight. It's not your ordinary Starlink, so we have to come out for this one.
You said the thing. Alex, thank you for joining me as well.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, and of course, there's more Starlinks coming up, right? So we'll see when those come up, but yeah, let's hope for more 30th launches.
And after a successful broadcast for DOS, now we can thank the operators. Carson, thank you very much for operating tonight's stream. We really appreciate it. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for this evening's historic launch. Thank you very much for joining me, and let's do this again sometime, shall we? Before we do, let me just really quickly thank Alex Purdue with a $50 super chat saying you are all up all hours, day and night. I'm at the Cape trying to every launch. Excellent app too. Lets me know. I'm guessing they also mean next space flight. Sorry, I know we were just about to roll the outro, but I had to thank you there, Alex Purdue, as well. Anyway, Carson, go for it.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight comes SC off. Bring in SC off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
this methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?